Hey everyone, my name is Dave Nixon and welcome to another episode of the Peak and Flow podcast. So I have been a little bit less frequent with the podcast as I would like. However, it's been nuts here. I'm sure it's been nuts for lots of people. However, it has been pretty busy here for a variety of reasons, good and bad. I mean, not really good and bad, just progressive, like generative, moving forward. And the other one being that we've had a number of our team members go down with COVID. So, alas, more work, less people, less resources. Let's go. So anyway, that's the reason being, among other things. But another reason is because I've been really putting some time aside thinking about what changes that I'm making and we're making to the programs and courses and the retreats for Peak and Flow as well from next year onwards. And so I'm going to go through today's podcast. I'm going to invite you to something at the end of this, or have an invitation for you rather, that ties into the topic of today. But regardless, what's really important, and this is something that I heard from Taki Moore, which I love, which is really simple. The information is free. You pay for implementation. So I am more than happy to give all the information that I have away for free. You can have it. I don't mind. If I can give it to you, that's completely fine. When it comes down to implementing or support with implementing or my time, that's when it starts to charge. But that's why I've got over 800 podcasts. It's like, just take it. If I can give it to you, you can have it. It's yours. If you'd like some support so you can absolutely nail the implementation, by all means, then reach out and we can do what we do. But either way, Meet Your Moment. Now, Meet the Moment is the name of working title of the next book, but also at the same time of a couple of courses that I run, or a course that I run. But it's the term that I use more often than not. And what I'm really referring to is allowing people to really show up in their full potential in that current moment, in the most present, mature, resourceful version of themselves in that period of time. So, how do we do that? Well, let's first take a step back and go, where are we now? And so more often than not, people are listening to podcasts like this or interested in topics like the topics that I share because they want to know either A, I'm currently in some form of pain. I either have anxiety that's crippling, or I seem to keep on self-sabotaging, something to do with something like that. Or I know there's more out there. I know I could do more, be more, but I continually find myself in the same problems or same frustrations, or I'm fearful that I'll make a mistake. And so there's something like that. It's either A, I'm really struggling and I'm in this difficult process of going, I've got these anxious thoughts, depressive thoughts, these patterns that I run that no longer serve me, self-sabotaging, or similar but different. It's actually kind of the same thing, but from a different lens. It's more, motivation towards the motivational way, which is I know I can do more. I know I can be more. I know I can be better. I know I'm not scratching the surface of my potential, and I want to. I just don't know how. That has been, both of those things has been the core of my own work for a very long period of time, because it was on balance of both. Like, I've been in the darkest of holes for me, and I've shared those. I remember being in a car in one of my most darkest periods and being like, it's okay for me to drive off that bridge. It is okay. And it wasn't okay, but just to clarify, but the thinking that I had was so unemotional at the time. It was like, everyone would understand why you did that. And that was okay. And that was a scary thought. I saw that thought and I was like, hang on a sec. I gotta pull up stumps on that for a second and just take a moment here and check in with myself. But that was a really dark period of my life. I've been in that space. I look back on my life and I had a lot of anxiety, but the anxiety didn't show up at the time as anxiety. It showed up as excitement, as energy, but really it was actually just running away from things. And I ran away from things by doing physical training. I ran away from things by getting drunk or by distracting myself in many different ways, rather than simply facing the thing that I was actually attempting to run away from. But it caught up with me, that's for damn sure. So I've been in that space, and I've also been in the space of like, I know that I'm capable of more. Why am I not doing more? How do I find this out? What is more? What is not more? Because in order to become more, we actually have to become less, which is really quite interesting. Become what we're not in order to really allow ourselves to be who we are. And so in that space, it was also going, hang on a sec, how do I understand myself? How do I ground this thinking, this, almost measuring of my thinking, become objective to it, so I become aware of the self structures rather than, identifying as my thoughts. And so it was this really powerful, messy, painful, beautiful learning process that I now get to share, on this podcast, in the gym that I run, and with the coaching that I do, and the education that I run, and the seminars and retreats and so forth. And so more often than not, people are listening to this type of content because they're in one of those two boats. And so one of the things that I've done over the years is I've put together programs and courses and so forth. I have to admit, though, they've been good. They haven't been great. And part of that was because I was only scratching the surface of my potential. Now, I mentioned before I've got an invite for you at the end. I'll just talk about the programs that we're doing next year at the end. If you're interested, you just reach out. It's really that simple. But I'm really excited because I've been able to put down the plans, the processes, the procedures, the models to map out all these areas in life that allow us to go from problem to promise, right? Like to go, here's my problem, here's the promise, here's the outcome. What's the actual process that I need to follow in order to be able to reach that outcome? How do I do that? And for a long time, I couldn't put that together, and finally I can. And it's beautiful and it's exciting. And, I want to share with you today how you can do this yourself, at least get started with it. And then we'll go from there. But the key thing to remember here is that some action is better than no action. And so if you either you're struggling with where you're currently at the moment, whether it be anxiousness on anxiousness on anxiousness, or whether it be self-sabotage, or whether it be self-judgment, or you're almost there, success is just around the corner, your potential is it's kind of there, but you just hold back a little bit. What you need to remember is that some action is better than no action. And if you start it before January the 1st, that's even better because it allows you momentum coming into the new year, right? But regardless, you start when you start. That's the best time to start, is when you do start. And if you can start, then start. But it's just so crucial to remember that some action, no matter what action, even if it ends up being the wrong action, that's okay because it's some action, because the only wrong action is inaction. That's so crucial to know, because even when you take action and it was a wrong action, you get feedback. So you're now further ahead. You never go back to square one, because when you go back to where you started, you have more experience, you have more information, you have more knowledge, more insight. You're never back at square one. Always take action. It's better than none. So how do we go problem to promise? First, what I would encourage you to do is get a blank bit of paper, and let's put just a quadrant. So you're going to put a line, a horizontal line and a vertical line. In the top left column, you're going to put at the top frustrations, right? And in these frustrations, you're thinking about, what am I frustrated with now? What right now is not working for me? What am I sick of? What do I want to move away from? And this little model was borrowed from Taki Moore, who borrowed it from someone else in a different capacity, but it fits within a greater model. It's quite simple and beautiful. And so in that space, what am I frustrated with now? Now, if you go down to the quadrant below that, it is, what are my fears? What am I worried about in the future? So one's immediate, one's future. Now, commonly, there's going to be more around my frustrations now than it is about my fears in the future, but that's really important. What are my frustrations right now, and what am I scared of occurring in the future? Over to the right-hand column, and top right-hand, you're going to write wants. What are the things that I want now? And catch yourself here if you find yourself being like, I shouldn't have wants. Wants is simply like, I want to feel a calmer mind. I want to be able to respond without anger. I want to be able to play with my children without pain, right? I want to feel free. It wants to simply, what is it that I want? What is something that I'm looking for now, sooner rather than later, that I can start to get some action on, start to get momentum on, and start to get a result on? But what are my wants now? That's the top right hand. The bottom right hand quadrant is, what am I aspiring to? What are the things that I want in the future? What am I moving towards long term? Right? You could probably think 3 years, 1 year, doesn't matter too much. But what are the things that, if I was to follow my wants, I'd probably get those as my aspiration over the coming years. From there, underneath that, what we're looking at here is on the left-hand column is your problems, and on the right-hand column as your promises, right? Your outcomes. What you need to do now is figure out what are the what processes, or what's the process I need to follow to go from problem to promise. What is that process that I need to follow? And if you're able to outline what that process is, you'll be able to start to define what are the steps necessary for me to go from where I am now to where I really want to be. Now, what's so crucial for you as you line out that process, and usually 8 to 12 steps, is what are the internal and external resources I need in every single step? What are the internal, like who do I need to be, how do I need to act, what do I need to think? And then what are the external, who do I need to speak to, what resources do I need around me, what's the environment like? All of those things per step for the process. Now you've got yourself a plan to go in the next 12 months from problem to promise. Simple as that. And so my invite, like I mentioned for you before, is that's a small part of the program that we're running. I've got 2 programs starting with me. I'm running them at the start of next year. One's called Meet the Moment. One's a Peak and Flow trainer's internship. Coach's internship, really, but trainer's internship. And so really, I'm only looking for about 6 in each group. But Meet the Moment is going to be one-on-one and group learning. We have 12 masterclasses, online masterclasses, where we go through 90-minute sessions effectively to really outline almost problem to promise, but in significantly greater depth. You also get coaching sessions with me, and then you also have a retreat, a ticket to the retreat. You also get access to training, whether that be online or in person. So look, I don't need to go through all the benefits. That wasn't my goal or point of this anyway. But that's what's involved with it. It's really for people that are like, okay, I really want to make significant change here, and I do want that support and implementation. If you don't, keep listening to the podcast, because I'm going to keep giving all this content away wherever I can anyway. And then with the Peak and Flow Coaches Internship, you're once again working one-on-one with me and within a small group, and I'm going to teach you everything I can in 6 months. Everything I can. From state management to building rapport to building a culture within a facility to, like, on purpose, not by accident, on purpose, to programming for functional training, to breath work, to understanding our nervous system, to understanding functional training and anatomy and movement, to understanding the marketplace and how to make sure my branding and comms are consistent and congruent with the market that I'm after, to also the offers that we're building that has authenticity with it, that feels natural and normal but beneficial for the client. That's a win-win-win. Win for me, win for them, and win for the greater good, or win for the culture, win for the environment, win for the system, win for the commercial model of the facility. So that's the kind of thing I'm attempting. I've gone to these 2 programs and I'm like, how can I teach everything I know in 6 months or less? Now, really, it's 6 months or less. And they're the 2 things that I've put together. That's what I'm excited about. What I'm also really excited about, though, for every single other person out there, is being able to provide as much quality content and insight in these programs and podcasts as I possibly can. I want to make sure that whatever's in my mind and whatever I've learned, I can pass on to you. And the goal is that people can benefit from everything that I share and never spend $1 with me. Now, there's other people that will want to work with me, and great. If we're a good fit, let's do it. Otherwise, Tim, that's me done. I'm out. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you found today's podcast beneficial. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you pass it on to someone else that you think would also find it beneficial. If you haven't already, you can find out more about our retreats and our trainings in the show notes, and you can find where you can buy a copy of my book, Finding Yourself. Otherwise, that's me done. If you have any questions about the content that I mentioned today or the courses, reach out to me. I'm easy to find, Dave Nixon Flow on Instagram, or through the website, peakandflow.com.au. Until next time, peace and pizza. I'll see you soon.